Hello and welcome to some season predictions from us here at Ranks FC in association with 23. We've been lucky enough to use the toolbox, boys. It's been very, very enlightening in terms of these things that we're picking out here. We're going to pick out a player of the season, a signing of the season and a breakout star of the season. Let's move on then to signing of the season. Dean, who are you going for?
Well, I have to go for Gabriel Jesus based on what I've seen in pre-season, because Arsenal's big hunt was for that number 9. That was their priority for the transfer window. Could they find the right guy to lead their attack? And so far, they absolutely have done that. And by getting Gabriel Jesus into Arsenal early, they've given themselves the best chance possible to integrate to that team from the first game of the season. He's already been on fire, and I think that we're going to see a totally different animal in Jesus this season. You can see here, so like the different areas of the goal that Jesus would look to hit and look to score from. I mean, it does seem strange that like this is the area of the goal. Like maybe that's just typically when you're a predatory striker, I guess, like when you're just instinctively turning the ball towards
it's
goal.
when you get your toe on stuff, and
I think that's typically like that area of the goal is where keepers are making saves and stuff, and you're just trying to turn the ball in. But like I've seen him already in pre-season, like hitting these areas like a couple of times with his
well,
goal.
Not this area. He doesn't like this one.
I think
in pre-season he's hit that area.
Yeah.
That is a big change.
Yeah, so Jesus is definitely going to change in terms of probably a person as well, because he's going to be like a leader now. He wants to take the responsibility of taking Arsenal to being a Champions League team again. He is. In terms of mentality, he's going to lift the other players around him too. So for me, it's not just the fact that all of this is going to be improved because Jesus is going to have more chances and score more goals and play as a 9, which we haven't really seen. Last season, Jesus dropped off a bit, right? Like he wasn't, I think even Eddie has said it himself, like Jesus wasn't the same player last year as he was previously, and I think Jesus is hungry to prove to people that he can be a 9.
I think, there's a World Cup on the horizon, and currently he is probably not first choice to be leading that line for Brazil. He wants to be. Obviously, there's the shadows of the last World Cup where he failed to score, and there have been plenty of Brazil strikers in the past who have had worse reputations than Gabriel Jesus, who have managed to score at World Cups. That kind of hangs over him a little bit, I think, at national level. But also there's this element of, where when he came here, he was seen as that number 9. He failed a little bit to get out of Aguero's shadow. Now, that's no slight, because Sergio Aguero is one of, if not the greatest goal scorer that the Premier League has ever seen. And so it's tricky to kind of come out of that step. But he comes into Arsenal with that fresh start, the number 9 shirt on his back, playing through the middle. There's a big opportunity.
Signing of the season. Is that exactly what you're saying?
I like it. I like it.
Right.
I'll be honest. I like it. Sam?
Right, so after going really, really obvious for my first pick of player of the season, I thought I'd go slightly less under the radar for my signing of the season. I've gone for Christian Eriksen. Quite left field. I think he's going to play more on the right, Dino. In fact, I think he's going to play probably 2 or 3 different positions. People are trying to lock down where Eriksen plays in this Man United team, and it's quite difficult. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think over the course of the season, over the course of a European campaign and a full Premier League campaign, he ends up playing a bit of centre mid, a little bit of right wing, and a bit of 10 as well. And he's just so good in so many different positions. And if the back half of last season taught us anything, is that this guy is still absolutely amazing. And the thing I keep coming back to in the kind of signing the season argument is the fact that he cost nothing. He was a free transfer. Now, we know that frees aren't free, wages, signing bonuses, all that stuff. But Eriksen on a free. If he starts playing well, Eriksen, oh my God, he was a free. It will just start to catch on.
Yeah.
And Eriksen is still an incredible footballer. I think will play a huge part for Man United this season. I know it was a long time ago, but he is former Ajax. And Erik ten Hag is trying to bring the Ajax to Man United, and having someone that grew up in that system is no bad thing.
We trained with Ajax last season before he'd signed for Brentford, obviously. Yeah. So there was that kind of element, and he's been working with Ten Hag recently. I thought what was interesting last season at Brentford was the fact that he used to drop in between the centre-backs, pick up the ball and start to spray. And that was, something that, not we had never seen in his game, but something that I think was reduced because he used to play far further up the field than what he was asked to do last season by Thomas Frank. Yeah. And actually that element and that kind of ability to do that, I think will help him here, because it does, as you say, it gives him another position. He can play in the pivot with a number 6. He can play out on the right-hand side if he needs to, and he can play in that 10 role if the rotation is needed. Obviously, Bruno's going to start there, but I think that whatever happens, Eriksen becomes a player that, even if he is a rotational player, he comes on and make things happen.
But you'll see over here, like, he might not be a specific goal threat himself, right? Because in terms of goals scored, in terms of like how often he's getting in the box, but what he's being brought in for is all the stuff on the other side and trying to unlock defences and also unlock his own attack. Like, Man United's attack has been so restricted. There's been no real identity in terms of how they're actually trying to score goals. And the key to getting Eriksen and even Lisandro Martinez in is the fact that their play can be built from deeper. And it means that the guys like Rashford and Sancho, or even Martial, they can make their runs. They pick out, there'll be one look of the eye, and Eriksen can pick these guys out early. Or he even plays one pass into Bruno and then the next one goes. And that's the difference that Eriksen will make. So I see what Sam's saying in terms of signing of the season, because United have been missing that link, and I know obviously they're still trying to get Frankie de Jong as we record this, but like, Eriksen is a very helpful piece that not only can do that, but can also, if he has to, move out to the right-hand side and create from there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you see, this is basically him crossing the ball to Ivan Toney. He did a lot of crossing for Brentford. I expect that to dip a little bit, but something like this, touches in the opposition box, does come forward a little bit when he starts to play a little bit further up, tries to play more of a conventional role. Similar to the De Bruyne conversation, this is no concern. He's creative, he's risky, he tries things. This will rise because he plays for Man United and he will be in a dominant team. And this will all stay the same, which is very healthy.
Okay, all right, let's move on to a third one. Now, obviously I picked Erling Haaland as player of the season, so I also immediately think he will be signing of the season by default.
Imagine if you just came in with
Erling Haaland, so I thought that would be a little bit dull, so I've decided to completely flip the script and I'm going for Sven Botman at Newcastle United. Now, what I think about this signing that's interesting is Newcastle are in this phase of trying to raise their ceiling and raise their floor, right? They are trying to be in the conversation for Europe next season. And I thought what we saw with the signing of someone like Bruno Guimaraes is that Newcastle are picking players who are young, hungry, and able to take the club up to that next level. Now, Bruno has been a massive success at Newcastle so far. I think exactly the same about Botman. I think he's going to walk in here and immediately improve this side in a number of ways. But ultimately, he helps make this a more solid back line. And as Newcastle start to climb the table, I think these players who are going to raise the entire team as they come in become more and more important. Your Brunos, and in this case, Botman. And if Newcastle do end up nicking a top 7 spot next season, or even being in the conversation for those European places, I think that Botman's going to have a massive influence on it. It's about flipping things. Obviously, they have work to do in attack in terms of actually creating chances and making sure that they can put games to bed. But the bedrock of this team that Eddie Howe has built is this defensive foundation. We saw last year players come in and immediately improve them. Trippier on the right, Matt Targett on the left. Dan Burn did really well when he came in. Now, there's a conversation there to be had about how Dan Burn and Sven Botman fit into the same place, because they both play here.
But they play here.
Exactly. So there's a conversation to be had about that. But I do think Botman comes in at this kind of price and starts immediately, because he is someone that was under huge demand across Europe. If you're the Italian champions, AC Milan, are looking at you, and you end up at Newcastle United, who are pushing into that conversation for Europe full stop, that's a big deal. And I think Botman is absolutely excellent, was brilliant for Lille last season, has been under the eye for so long. This is a big coup for Newcastle.
You don't doubt a centre-back who has the Paolo Maldini seal of approval. No. If you go against that, you are very, very silly indeed. What you may struggle with here is that he is a centre-back, and signings of the season are usually a bit more fun than that, I would say. Who won player of the last defender? It'd be Virgil van Dijk, and before that, like maybe John Terry. So big projection from you.
Well, I didn't ask. I didn't say
the next Virgil van Dijk.
I didn't say he was going to be player of the season. I said he was going to be signing of the season.
It'd have to be about that calibre, won't it?
Well, I think he may well be. So we shall see. We shall see. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe for more from us at Brentford.